The sun was setting over a small village, casting a warm orange glow over the thatched roofs of the houses. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming cherry blossoms and the gentle chirping of crickets. In a quiet corner of the village, a young girl named Imiko was walking home from the market, carrying a basket filled with fresh vegetables and rice. She was a gentle soul, with a heart full of kindness and a smile that could light up the darkest of rooms. As she walked, Imiko noticed a small statue standing by the side of the road. It was a Jizo, a Buddhist deity known for protecting children and travelers. This particular Jizo was wearing a straw hat, which gave him a humble and endearing appearance. Imiko felt drawn to the statue and decided to stop and say hello. She gently placed her basket on the ground and bowed her head in respect. "Konnichiwa, Kasa Jizo," she said softly, using the affectionate name that the villagers had given to the statue. The Jizo stood quietly, his stone face serene and peaceful. Imiko noticed that his straw hat was a bit worn and faded, and she wondered who might have placed it on his head. She looked around, but there was no one in sight. The only sound was the gentle rustling of the leaves in the nearby trees and the distant chirping of the crickets. Imiko felt a sense of calm wash over her as she stood there, surrounded by the peacefulness of the village. As she stood up to leave, Imiko heard a soft voice behind her. "Arigato, Imiko-chan," the voice said. Imiko turned to see an old woman standing behind her, a warm smile on her face. The old woman was carrying a small bag slung over her shoulder, and her hair was tied back in a gentle knot. "I see you're visiting our Kasa Jizo," she said, her eyes twinkling with kindness. "He's a special one, isn't he?" Imiko nodded, feeling a sense of wonder at the old woman's gentle demeanor. The old woman walked closer to the statue and gently adjusted the straw hat on the Jizo's head. "I made this hat for him," she said, her fingers moving deftly as she worked. "I wanted to keep the sun out of his eyes, and to keep him warm on cold nights." Imiko watched, fascinated, as the old woman worked. She felt a sense of peace settle over her, as if the old woman's gentle movements were soothing her very soul. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm golden light over the village, Imiko felt her eyelids growing heavy. The old woman noticed and smiled. "It's time for you to go home, Imiko-chan," she said, her voice soft and gentle. "But don't worry, Kasa Jizo will be here, watching over you and keeping you safe." Imiko nodded, feeling a sense of gratitude towards the old woman and the gentle Jizo. She picked up her basket and began to walk home, feeling the peacefulness of the village settling over her like a soft blanket. As Imiko walked home, the sound of her footsteps on the quiet road was the only noise that broke the stillness of the evening. The sky was painted with hues of pink and orange, a beautiful sunset that seemed to match the warm feeling in her heart. She felt grateful for the encounter with the old woman and the gentle Jizo, and she couldn't help but wonder about the old woman's story. Who was she, And why did she take care of the Jizo with such kindness? As she turned a corner, Emiko saw her home in the distance, a small wooden house with a thatched roof and a garden full of blooming flowers. Smoke was rising from the chimney, and the smell of cooking rice wafted through the air, making her stomach feel hungry. She quickened her pace, looking forward to seeing her mother and sharing stories about her day. As she approached the house, Emiko heard the sound of laughter and chatter coming from inside. She pushed open the door and was greeted by the warm smile of her mother, who was sitting by the fire with a friend, Mrs. Tanaka. Mrs. Tanaka was a kind-hearted woman who lived in the neighboring village, and she often visited Emiko's family to share stories and news. "Welcome home, Emiko-chan," her mother said, beckoning her to come and sit by the fire. "We've been waiting for you. Mrs. Tanaka has brought some delicious mochi and tea to share." Emiko's eyes widened as she saw the tray of steaming mochi and the teapot, filled with a fragrant green tea. She loved mochi, and the smell of the tea was like a warm hug on a cold day. As they sat together, sipping tea and eating mochi, Emiko told her mother and Mrs. Tanaka about her encounter with the old woman and the Jizo. Mrs. Tanaka listened with a thoughtful expression, nodding her head from time to time. When Emiko finished speaking, Mrs. Tanaka smiled and said, "I think I know the old woman you're talking about. She's a kind soul, isn't she? Her name is Hiro, and she's been taking care of the Jizo for many years." Emiko's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "What's her story, Mrs. Tanaka?" she asked, leaning forward in her seat. Mrs. Tanaka took a sip of her tea, collecting her thoughts before speaking. "Hiro used to be a teacher in our village," she began. "She loved children and taught them with kindness and patience. But after her husband passed away, she became lonely and decided to devote her life to taking care of the Jizo. She believes that by caring for the Jizo, she's also taking care of the children and travelers who pass through our village." As Mrs. Tanaka spoke, Emiko felt a sense of admiration for Hiro, who had dedicated her life to helping others. She realized that the old woman's kindness was not just a gesture, but a way of life. The fire crackled, and the room grew quieter, as if the very atmosphere was absorbing the peacefulness of the story. Emiko felt her eyelids growing heavy once more, but this time it was not just from tiredness, but from the sense of contentment that filled her heart. She knew that she was surrounded by kind people, like Hiro and Mrs. Tanaka, who made the world a warmer and more loving place. The warmth of the fire and the kindness of the story wrapped around Emiko like a soft blanket. She felt her body relaxing, her muscles letting go of the day's tension. Mrs. Tanaka's voice was like a gentle breeze, soothing and calming. Emiko's mother smiled at her, noticing the peaceful expression on her face. "It's getting late, Emiko-chan," she said. "Why don't you go get ready for bed? Mrs. Tanaka can stay for a little while longer." Emiko nodded, slowly getting up from her seat. She said good night to Mrs. Tanaka, who hugged her tightly and whispered, "Sleep well, dear one. May your dreams be sweet and your heart be filled with kindness." Emiko's mother walked her to her room, a small cozy space with a window that looked out onto the garden. The moon was rising, casting a silver glow over the flowers and trees. Emiko's mother helped her get into her bed, a soft futon with a warm blanket. She tucked her in, saying, "I'll be right outside if you need me. Sleep tight, my love." Emiko snuggled into her bed, feeling the softness of the blanket and the comfort of her mother's presence. She closed her eyes, listening to the sounds of the night. The wind whispered through the bamboo, a gentle rustling that seemed to lull the world to sleep. The river in the distance whispered its own lullaby, a soft melody that filled Emiko's heart with peace. As she drifted off to sleep, Emiko felt the kindness of the day wrap around her, the love of her mother, the warmth of Mrs. Tanaka's story, and the gentle care of Hiro for the Jizo. Her dreams were filled with images of blooming flowers, soft sunlight, and the peaceful faces of the people she loved. The world outside grew quieter, the stars twinkling like diamonds in the sky. The moon rose higher, casting a silver glow over the village, filling every heart with a sense of calm and contentment. In the distance, the Jizo stood watch, a gentle guardian of the village, surrounded by the love and kindness of Hiro's care. The night deepened, the darkness filled with the soft sounds of sleep, the world wrapped in a blanket of peace. And Emiko slept, her heart filled with the warmth of love, her soul at peace, surrounded by the gentle rhythms of the night. The darkness was not dark, but a soft, velvety blackness that wrapped around her, holding her close. The world was still, the only sound the soft whisper of the wind, the gentle lapping of the river against its banks. And in this stillness, Emiko found a deep and abiding peace, a sense of belonging to a world that was filled with kindness and love.